Hi, Rob Bryant here. Happy Halloween, everybody. We're here at our house. Unfortunately, this kind of a bittersweet Halloween for us because it's the last Halloween that we'll be in this house. We're in the midst of moving out, and so that's always a big moment when you hit that kind of a milestone in your life. We were in here for about 35 years, so a lot of family memories and a lot of wonderful times that have happened in this house over the years. But we'll see if we get any interruptions here. We're pointed at the door, and I'm handing out the candy tonight, so don't know what's going to be happening from time to time. There might be some interesting costumes for us to look at too. So this house, we're really proud to have actually paid the mortgage off 20 years ago. But then when I stubbornly tried to keep my studio open, I opened lines of credit with the house secured, and finally we're at a point now where I have to sell the house to be able to pay off the lines of credit because the business just wasn't able to succeed without the film industry here. So unfortunately, that's what happens when you got your eggs in one basket, and that's why I was spending the last 11 years or so getting into augmented reality, virtual reality, and all the mixed reality kind of stuff that's been happening. But unfortunately, that didn't get us out of the hole we're in. So my stubbornness, unfortunately, has resulted in me betting my house on the film industry coming back in the province and bye-bye house. So these things happen in life, and there's lots of people around the world that are going through similar amounts of financial turmoil, and there's hard times. A lot of people at the bottom that are really not doing very well right now. So I'm with you guys, and I understand what you're going through. So, but meanwhile, I'm 65 and homeless, but that's not as dire as it might sound. My sister is going to let me stay in her basement. Sister and brother-in-law are longtime friends, so that's awesome. So what are we doing here? Hi, dude, you rock. Hey, bud. How's everybody doing? Has everybody been out Halloween candying and having party time? So far, we've had 6 kids here, so usually we end up with about 120 or so. So I think I might have missed just a few because I didn't get here till 6 o'clock. But the neighbor said there hadn't been any at his place by then, so hopefully that's going to be fine. That I haven't missed anybody. Don't want to put a curse on the house with people going, "Oh, that's the place that didn't hand out candy last year." We know what those guys are like, so you don't want to do that to somebody. So I'm disappointed there hasn't been anybody else coming to the door here for us to be able to see the cool costumes. So anybody else got any questions or stuff related to the whole 10th dimension playground of ideas? I'm here looking at the camera. As long as we got nobody at the door, I'll be able to have a chat with anybody that wants to talk about it. So I was with all the stuff that I've been doing for my career. I've had a lot of affiliations with a lot of different governments over the years, and I was looking forward to really doing well with this one. But when 2012 hit and the film industry kind of was eliminated from the province, that was a big problem for me. And I had already been part of some of the most successful productions that were happening here. So it was hey, Bill Nye Scientism guy. So does anybody have any questions? I'm here waiting for people to hand candy out too, so if you got anything to say. So the story I was telling, with the film industry, my Dolby 5.1 theatrical mix facility was kind of focused on that industry, but we were trying to get into some of the other stuff. Do you wear the white coat of credibility, credulity. Well, what I do try to say is I'm not a scientist and I'm not pretending to be one. I'm just a creative person who has some ways of using a very basic point line plane postulate uh, ideas to work through how you can get to the everything of the whatever it is that we come from. And so, that is something that has been an honest pursuit of all of the quantum mechanics pioneers. Were saying the same thing that I'm saying. I was under a wrong impression. Oh, okay. Well, I do say that regularly. So if you watch my videos, you'll see it come up. If you go to is.gd/about Rob, you'll see it. Oh geez, I'm sorry, I missed that question. Too different, it said, and then it fades it out so quickly. So it's hard if you're answering one question, you got to be able to read the other one at the same time, I guess. Can you ask that question again? Hey, happy Halloween. Different definitions of singularity, digital eye. Oh yes. Okay, hold on. I got some kids here. Don't you both say trick or treat?
Trick or treat. Sorry, usually does.
Come on, more synchronized.
Trick or treat.
Awesome. There you go.
Thank you.
Uh-oh. We're getting Sorry, am I making anybody seasick? My taped up tripod to a tripod is starting to let go there. Yeah, so the idea that there is something an everything, Max Tegmark talks about all the time, the ultimate ensemble, or the level 4 multiverse. And quantum physics guys say information equals reality. So if you're going to take line, branch, fold, or point, line, plane and extend it out to the number of dimensions it takes you to get to that everything, that's what we're exploring. And with the logic I use, I say it takes 10 dimensions. With the logic that you see Kip Thorne promoting in his book, The Science of Interstellar, he says basically you just need the 5 dimensions that we are in, which would seem to be the same 5 dimensions that we were seeing Hawking talk about when he said there was another kind of time, imaginary time, at right angles to space-time. Well, what is right at angles to space-time is the 5th dimension, and that's plain as the nose on my face, as I've typed in a response to somebody. Gilgamesh in the center of the lake of fire, the flower. Okay, well that's, you're talking about stuff that I'm not familiar with, but I know there's lots of other cross connections here because we are talking about things that everybody knows. 4th dimension has yet to be explained, if that's even possible. Well, the 4th dimension is at right angles to the 3rd dimension. So what does that mean? The 3rd dimension is a Planck length of space. It has no time in it, so there is no 4th dimension in that Planck frame that you're talking about. So that's the smallest building block of reality. And if you take one of those Planck frames and connect them to another, that has to happen in the dimension that is above the 3rd dimension, outside of the 3rd dimension. You can't connect the 3rd dimension to itself because it's already busy being that one thing. And that's what you talk about when you discuss the idea of Minkowski space or a phase space. If a point within that system represents the system in a certain state, then that's exactly what that Planck frame that I'm talking about is. It's the point representing the universe in that one certain state. And so if you can imagine then an everything that I was saying, Kip Thorne says that you've got the 5 dimensions, and then every dimension that is beyond that, you can just call the bulk because it's not directly connected to our reality, our universe, our observed happening right now that Eckhart Tolle likes to talk about. The now is the third dimension point. So that's easily understood then that the fourth dimension is being created from those third dimension points, one Planck frame after another. And if you're going to then take that to the fifth dimension, which is where electromagnetism and general relativity's equations are resolved, and that's 100 years ago we've known that. So I'm not sure why that isn't something that everybody knows and is taught in grade school. Our reality is in the fifth dimension, and then that's where electromagnetism and Maxwell's infinitely scalable field equations are all creating every possible phenomena in the world. That's the lovely presentation by Neil Turok. The astonishing simplicity of everything is certainly something you should look into if you want to see what a mainstream scientist's thinking is on these same ideas that I like to talk about. And of course, I'm quite willing to take these ideas much further out into the realm of spirituality and the Eastern mysticism that Planck and Schrödinger and Heisenberg and Bohr all were thinking about. They had ideas about how this connected to an everything, to a one, to something that is there behind everything else. And if you want to call that God, that's perfectly fine. But there's lots of other things you can call it as well. Here's some kids. Wow, what a big game. Okay, now everybody together on the trick or treat.
Trick or treat!
Good night. Have fun. So, I'm back. Sorry if I missed some comments there. There isn't a thing on this that lets you scroll back, and I guess that's probably a good idea because I don't want to be shaking the camera around trying to poke at it while we're also trying to watch a show. Okay, so I've been going for 12 minutes here, so I don't want to just make this a marathon, and I think my battery probably is down to about a quarter already here, so I'm not sure that I'll go much longer here. But if anybody has any other questions? Love your videos, thank you. 12 notes to a chromatic scale, 13 to an octave, 7 be a mirror of the hot and cold spectrum. Oh, that's an interesting one. I'd have to think about that. The hot and cold spectrum as it relates to thinking about how everything is a wave, which is also what the quantum physicists insist. If you're willing to take that idea all the way out to biocentrism and the idea that without any sort of a conscious observer, the reality of our universe is in its quantum state of superposition. More anime on the way. I'm just reading from my book for my videos right now, so but they do have some animations and different visualizations in them. That's still what I'm all about, just trying to find ways to picture all these things. And there's so many interesting connections to ancient mysticism and psychedelics and all that kind of stuff. How many dimensions does a shadow have? And an image in a mirror? How many? Okay, what do you think about the idea that the universe isn't expanding? Papers not showing. Okay. Well, there's been a number of things. The idea that maybe the universe is absolutely flat, and I'm saying there still must be some very slight curvature, which would be how you can think of everything as spheres within hyperspheres out to whatever is that everything, the bulk, or the ultimate ensemble, or the 10th dimension as I'm portraying it. It's all the same thing, and you are just kind of getting into labels. If you don't agree how I get there, it's still, that's what we're trying to get to. And any good theory of everything, that's its ultimate goal, is to say where it all comes from.
Hello. Trick or treat. Let's hear them both together now.
Trick or treat.
Come on, both
Trick or
together.
treat. Trick or treat.
Get synchronized here.
Trick or treat. Trick or treat.
Oh man. Okay. There you go. Oh, sorry. There's one drop there.
I fail as a conductor apparently. Couldn't get them to go together. Okay, anybody else have anything? This is, I just want to mention Everything Forever. If you haven't gone to that website, everythingforever.com, I think it gives a brilliant explanation of how we are really just going from one kind of symmetry to another as you go from grouping everything all pushed together into the high entropy state, the low entropy state where everything's very, very organized at the start, and then you're going to the high entropy state, which is just another kind of symmetry where everything is all pushed apart as much as it possibly can be into its component parts. So, and dimensional gobstoppers, well, thank you for odds. Not trying to disagree with you, appreciate you. But you know, that's one thing I do want to say too. You know, I'm just interested in the discussion. I'm not trying to force any particular belief system down anybody's throat. But you know, there's so many interesting ways that this connects to the concept of amnesis, the idea that there's things we're just born knowing and then we forget, and then we spend our lives remembering. And you know, for me, the ultimate message is within Everett's many worlds, there is a great version of you, and all you got to do is figure out a way to get there. And that's what I'm doing right now is I get rid of the debt that I accrued trying to keep my studio open. And, you know, now I'm hopefully off to a much happier future once I've had to say goodbye to this house that we've lived in for these 35 years. So I'm going to sign off now. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye-bye.